In this video, we're going to take a look at covalent bonds. And so by the end of this video, you'll be able to describe how a covalent bond forms as a result of electrons being shared between atoms. So as I said in the intro just now, covalent bonds are when we have sharing of electrons. And these occur between non-metals. So the way you recognize you have a covalent compound or a covalent bond is that it's formed between non-metals. And so this is different from an ionic bond because atoms will share electrons with each other in order to attain a full valence shell. So looking at our two examples here, hydrogen has one valence electron. So we got one valence electron with this one hydrogen here, and then one valence electron with this hydrogen here. Now, when they share electrons with each other, these two electrons are being shared, and so this is the representation of that sharing. And when you look at both then, around each of those hydrogens, it now has a full valence shell. It now has two around it, okay? A very similar thing happens with chlorine. So each chlorine has 7 valence electrons, and if they share one with each other, then it's like they have 8 valence electrons around each of the chlorines, okay? And that would be the formation of a covalent bond. Now let's look at a couple more examples. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to draw the valence electrons so we can see what's going on with this sharing. With fluorine, fluorine has 9 electrons. So it has 2 electrons in its first shell and 7 in its second. Now let me draw fluorine here with just its 7 valence electrons. Okay. And I'll draw another fluorine here with its 7 valence electrons. In order for both to have full valence shells, they need to share 1 electron with each other. So these two here will share and become a covalent bond. All right. And so that's how fluorine comes together and bonds together. Now, if we take a look at HCl, we have 2 different atoms here. So we have a hydrogen, which has 1 valence electron. And then we have chlorine, which has a total of 17 electrons. So it has 2 in the first shell, 8 in the second shell, and 7 in the third shell. Now, if we just focus again on those valence electrons, hydrogen has 1. And remember, the first shell wants 2, so it only needs 1 more in order to have a full valence shell. Chlorine has 7. So I'm just going to draw the 7 around it. Okay, and then in order for both of these to have full valence shells, the hydrogen and the chlorine are going to share 1 electron with each other and form a covalent bond. All right. So this is pretty different from ionic bonding because ionic bonding is the formation of ions and then the attraction of the ions together, whereas in covalent bonds, this is now the sharing of electrons between 2 atoms, forming an actual physical bond with one another. That's it then for this video. Let's move on to our next task.